Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sold Sign Real Estate Unplugged. We are your host and favorite realtors, Naya
and Lauren,
and we're excited to be back with you all for another episode. Let's get into this week's story.
I remember working with a homeowner who was preparing to sell their home. It was in a great neighborhood, and structurally the house was solid, but it hadn't been updated in over a decade. The owner was planning to list it as is, assuming the market was hot enough that buyers would overlook the outdated features. But I knew we could do better. I asked them for just a little flexibility to make smart, high-impact upgrades. We weren't talking a full renovation, just small changes that could go a long way. We painted the walls in a neutral tone, swapped out old light fixtures for modern ones, refreshed the landscaping out front, and decluttered every room. Next, I brought in a professional stager to make the home feel brighter and more spacious. It was amazing how different the home looked with the right furniture layout and a few accessories. Then we had professional photos taken, including twilight shots and drone footage to show off the backyard and nearby trails. We priced it competitively, not low, but just under where the comps were selling to drive attention. Within the first weekend, we had over 20 showings and multiple offers. One offer came in $18,000 over asking, with clean terms and a flexible closing timeline. The seller was thrilled, not just because of the price, but because the process went smoother than they expected. A few smart moves made a big difference. We love that word, competitive pricing. People may say, oh, are you pricing it low? No, we're pricing it competitively so that people can come in and they can see it, and we allow the buyers to drive to choose the market. Because if you price it too high,
you box out people.
You do box out people, and no one's gonna see it.
Yeah,
like, no one's gonna. They're like, oh, it's too high. I'm not gonna even take a look at it. I'm not even gonna schedule a showing. But if it is priced competitively, buyers think they're getting a great deal, which they may be. They're getting a great deal for a home. And some buyers are like, man, we are getting a great deal. Let's offer more. Let's offer over asking so that we can get the house. And that's exactly how we love to list a home. I feel like it's the way to go. I don't know any other way, honestly, unless you're okay with it sitting on the market a little longer.
Right. And you run that. I think for this scenario, they were able to price it competitively because they made those upgrades. But had they not made those upgrades, then it wouldn't have been so competitive.
You would just be pricing it competitively.
Then you might just it would just be,
but it'll be no competition.
Pricing it right. And sometimes fine, there might be a situation or scenario where they have to do as is, or there's no time or whatever. But if you're able to make the high impact upgrades, it really can flow well. Like this seller said, the process flowed really smoothly, and it can go that smoothly when you do everything up front. So we often talk about having good first impressions for buyers. But the first impression starts when they look online at the photos and they see the price as well. Really the price, then the photos.
Yeah.
Is like how it happens when they're searching. So
that is key.
It's all kind of like a domino effect. So if you want to be able to price competitively, you also, need to make sure that they're going to like what they see when they get inside of the home. And then you probably will have options and a competitive, competitive offers coming in.
Yeah. Because take yourself out of it. Like as a seller, think about it as this is no longer my home. I know that may be hard to think about because it has been your home, but now you're putting it on the market to sell. So since you're doing that, you want buyers to come in and say, oh, I can see myself living here. So you got to take yourself out of it, put in some furniture that it will really attract the buyers. And do you want to talk about upgrades? Like if a seller doesn't have the money up front to do upgrades, like how they could?
Yes. So we, with our brokerage and another partner company, we specifically are able to allow sellers to do renovations that they can pay for out of their proceeds at closing. And so this obviously can be very, very helpful so that you don't have to worry about the upfront cost of making these upgrades, but you're able to do the upgrades, able to price the home higher because of the upgrades, and get a greater value of proceeds and pay the cost of the renovations from your proceeds at closing. So it's a win-win situation for everybody all around.
It's like the best.
It's like you can't go wrong with doing this. There's no wrong. There's no harm in getting the upgrades, attracting the buyers, getting to sell at a price that's favorable for you. The upgrades are favorable to the buyer, and you get to pay it at the end from your proceeds that you were able to have an increase of because you did the upgrades.
Yeah. And I think a lot of sellers have that opportunity or that flexibility. Because sometimes, you know, if you're selling, you may be in a financial situation where you're like, I cannot that's why I'm selling as is, because I can't do these upgrades up front, but I do have the equity in my home. Boom. There you go. They'll come in, like Nia said, do the work, and you pay for it after you sell. Like you don't need, I mean, you see it, but you don't really see it, which is nice.
Yeah.
But, because hopefully you're selling it for over asking, and that right there, you just make up that money. You know, that money just comes right back. It's like nice. It's a really nice investment.
It really is.
So you should definitely think about doing something like that. And we have great partners that we work with, and obviously our brokerage offers it, which I'm like, there are not a lot of brokers that do that. Actually,
I don't know another one doing it in our area.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And I'm like, but that's why I think we get a lot of listings, because of that. We have that option. So
yes.
Staging is
huge.
Oh my God.
You don't play about staging.
I love a stage.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, yes. Absolutely.
I love a stage. Yeah. I know. A good stage house. Like you gotta be a good stager. But
it just makes sense. It's helpful. It really can elevate the space and, like, you know, be a good showing experience for a buyer. So yeah. Because staging allows, like, it's not your stuff. Right. Sometimes we might be able to maneuver with some items that you have also, but a stager can really add to an elevating, like, viewing and showing experience for a buyer, you know, to allow them again to see themselves there and see what they can do in the home. And it doesn't have to be like the items and furniture that are connected to you, but something as you would see in a model home, like we're modeling what that home couldn't feel like for them. With items that aren't, like, personal or attached to anybody. So it's just very neutral and, like, elevated, I'd say.
And I'm obsessed. Yeah. Like if I walk into a house and I see it staged, I'm like, yes. Thank you for doing that. Because when you walk into, like we talked about in previous episodes, like new construction, and you see that model home is staged, the reason why a lot of, but they're like, oh my God, I love this. I love how this looks, how it's staged. Yes. Because it's staged. Like, but if you walk into a vacant home, not saying you're not going to get the same feels. I'm not saying that at all. But I personally can sell a home. I cannot design or decorate one. So when I walk into a space and I see it decorated, it gives me, like, so many ideas, like, oh my God, I can do this with this space. And buyers get excited about the house, and they're like, I can't get the house out of my mind in the way that they set up the sunroom or the dining room. And that really gives. But when you're walking into a vacant home, that's still very nice. Sometimes it's hard for me personally to see myself in that space and how I can decorate it. So that's why I love a stage home. Do you like stage home?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
You can't lose with a stage home.
No, I feel like you can't.
And then we talked a little bit about, you know, the pricing strategy, but you know, with all these components, you've declared the home, you've got some upgrades, you staged it, and, you know, now we're at the point it's ready to hit the market and price it. And because you've done all these things, you've gone down the checklist, you can price with a really good strategy. You can make it competitive, and it will make sense to, like, everybody all around because of the work that you put into the home. So if you're able to do these things, and I think you are able to have a strong pricing strategy. Yeah. But if not, then you kind of have to be, I think, willing to compromise on the price.
Yeah. Yeah. Be realistic in what you see, what other homes, and we always provide a CMA, like a comparative market analysis, so the sellers can see what homes are selling for that are in kind of their same square footage and same amount of bedrooms. And then they can kind of compare like, oh, this house was completely updated or they have renovations, staged, whatever. This is why this house sold for this. But the one down the street didn't do any of that. This sold for thousands less. Where are you going to land in that? Are you going to be at the higher, right in the middle, lower? So we give you that so that you can see that we're not just, blowing smoke and saying, hey, you should do it this way. But they're kind of, it's like these are the facts. This is what sold. And you can tell this is the reason why it sold.
Right.
So the pricing strategy for sure is a big one.
Yeah.
Offering a pre-inspection when a buyer is walking through. So if you know, like with this story, that you're going to have a hot home and you want, as a seller, you want as least amount of contingencies as possible coming from the buyer. Sometimes allowing buyers to do a walkthrough with their inspector helps. Some sellers are not for it. They're like, absolutely not. We don't want to allow it. I feel like if the home is vacant and there's nobody living in there, like if you want to bring it's during your allotted time, which is usually like 45 minutes to an hour in the area. If you're bringing your inspector in and they want to come in with you while you're already showing the house, I don't see why that's a big deal. Go ahead and do it. That way, as a buyer, you already know kind of what's going on with the house. And as a seller, it's a benefit to you as well because the buyer's not coming with these contingencies and that they're not going to get out of the house because they did their inspection walkthrough. So
yeah, it allows them to come in with a great offer, making the process smooth for you both, and it provides them with ease, early on too. So
I agree.
Great idea.
And then what else do we do? Photos. Do not take pictures on your phone or your iPad. Like just hire. These are investments. If you are working with sellers, and we're talking to realtors right now, if you're working with sellers, it's an investment and the investment is upfront. So with buyers, a little different because you don't really have a lot of funds that you have to put up front. You just help the buyer and then you get paid at the end. Listings, completely different. You have to really invest that money into it up front and then you get the return at the end. So if for whatever reason, you just don't have the funds, don't skip on photos, cleaning.
You're gonna say you want to.
I know. I want to say staging, but staging that's a big cost. So a lot of times we ask our sellers to pay for it. If they can't pay for it up front, we will front it up front and then they just reimburse us on the back end. But if you cannot do that, have the seller pay for it. You pay for the consultation. So usually if a stager comes out, they may charge you a consultation fee. You pay that, but then allow the seller to pay the staging fee and just really explain to them how important it is and show them the differences between a staged home and a non-staged home. But definitely do the photos, definitely do a great deep cleaning and what else would you say? Maybe like marketing. Yeah, like don't skip on that. Like if you have a really low budget, just these are certain things. Like photos are huge.
Photos for sure.
Yeah.
Like if you can't do nothing else.
Yeah, do that.
You have to do photos.
You have to. And if you need to find the cheapest photographer or if you need to go out there and say, hey, listen, do a sponsorship with somebody to get photos. There are a lot of, photographers out here that are trying to get into, especially like the real estate industry. They may only charge you $100 to come in and do it and be like, hey, I would love to work with you. Hit them up on, whatever social media platform is your favorite and they may be able to do it, very cheap for you. But I would say don't skip on that, skip on that or, but yeah, if you can't do the staging, you can't, I'm not gonna,
you'll allow it.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Like you will be fine. But if you can do it, please do it. That's personally what I would say.
Yeah. I think that's good. So yeah, if you, kind of go through these checklists of things, you will likely, see the reward at the end of the process.
Yeah.
And feel like it was worth the work and effort that you put in for the proceeds that you get to leave with. And again, a win-win, favorable situation for all parties involved. And I think that's like the most ideal, obviously, way that you want to go about the transaction. So, I think that's all. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're selling this summer, spring, don't forget these items. Go ahead and get a head start on decluttering and cleaning and all that stuff so that you are ready to go. But thank you for tuning in again, another episode. Make sure that you're following us on all platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube. We're on all social media as well as all podcast platforms, whichever one is your favorite. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.